Video games as an industry is an incredibly competitive one, with lots of money going into it and lots of money coming out of it. Every release can be just as important as the next one. But for as many games that come out and earn their money back, there are just as many, if not more, that never end up making a profit. In my last video, I went over the fact that Payday 3 in its current state is probably not making enough money to really warrant continued work on it. It's been 12 days since then, and we've just learned that, officially, Project Baxter, the next biggest game to come out of Starbreeze, has been cancelled. Project Baxter, for those who are unaware, was a licensed Dungeons & Dragons game in development at Starbreeze. Foundational work was done in 2022 already, probably, but full work started in 2023, so shortly before or shortly after Payday 3's release. If you put the pieces together, it's very possible to assume that the post-launch support for Payday 3 has been as bad as it is, due to the fact that most of the development team had been moved over to a different project. As such, one could then start celebrating at the thought that Baxter, or Weavehunters as it was to be called, has been shafted. But that's completely ignoring the major elephant in the room. Money, workforce, time and effort. Sweat, blood and tears, over the course of almost 3 years. Money, time and energy, wasted in the blink of an eye. This could have one of two meanings. Either, A, the game was in such early developmental stages that finishing it would have been too costly to go through with, and thus cancelling it was the call. Or, option B, the game was in post-production, this stage after main development is over, and it was so bad that they decided it would be way better to not release it at all. The former is just about as likely as the second, but it doesn't matter either way. It's where a lot of development manpower went to shortly after the launch of Payday 3, that's a given. I know that a lot of YouTubers have already talked about this, but it seriously cannot be understated how bleak this really makes everything look. Starbreeze just cancelled a major release, targeted at a very specific audience that has a lot of money to spend. D&D is an absolute cash cow. Even if the game were to be in an atrocious state, a messy but major release with pre-orders and the whole ordeal would have been way less painful than outright cancelling it, and basically throwing all of the work that went into this unfinished project out of the window. What I assume is going to happen after this is another round of layoffs. If I'm correct, I'll be doing a Payday drinking stream. If I'm wrong, then what's going to happen now? In a perfect world, all of that workforce, which would have already been minimal as the game was actively in post-production, would now start working on Payday 3 instead, to actively turn the game around, pad out future updates, and ensure that the course is stabilized and becomes the main focus going forward. Part of that is absolutely the case. They did mention that the Payday franchise would be a major focus. Another part of this is also false, as offline mode has been officially cancelled. Half-heartedly. On their anniversary stream. In the midst of all this chaos, especially so shortly after the Payday 2 subscription service drama, it should be noted that the community reaction is probably going to speak more about their personal opinions, rather than taking a step back to make an educated guess as to why these things are currently happening. The issue with this is the fact that we will probably never hear an actual answer on what happened here. Maybe one day we'll see a leaked version of Baxter on archive.org, which ended up being leaked by another disgruntled Starbreeze employee. But this is where we're currently standing. Another round of promises after another round of setbacks. But maybe there's some promise in all of this fog. Even with Starbreeze's publishing site making some extra income on the side, this is their now or never. If Payday 3 doesn't catch itself and becomes somehow profitable and somehow successful, then there's a chance that there aren't any resources left for a possible Payday 4 as the next major release. Or even just a future for the company as a whole. But maybe that's where I get into a little bit of a doom-posty topic, and one that I'd like to keep to the slop channels instead. I still want to see this game succeed, and I want Starbreeze to catch themselves somehow. But my popcorn is also running out and all these twists and turns are making me dizzy. We'll have to see what the future holds. Until then, take care of yourselves.